Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Alicia Dreaming. Today I wanted to do a review of Captain Marvel um problems. Yes, I'm going to title it Captain Marvel Problems because there are a lot. And I'm doing this in preparation for my review on on the Marvels, which is Captain Marvel #2. And so we're going back in time to when there's a lot of issues about surrounding this, and I want to just dive in. So the first issue with Captain Marvel the movie wasn't so much something about the movie itself, but was pretty much like a retcon in the comics and how the mantle of Captain Marvel came to be for Carol Danvers in the movie. Well, it started out in the comics. It's an inherent the title of Captain Marvel was actually used by several characters, and it only came time for Carol Danvers to use that mantle in the 2000s, 2012, I believe. Okay, so but it's inherently misogynistic because the first female Captain Marvel was actually Monica Rambeau. Even though Carol Danvers had existed since like the 70s, maybe early 60s, she was known as Miss Marvel first. When Monica was introduced, she was known as Captain Marvel. So the problem is that when Kelly DeConnick took over writing the book in 2012, I think that's the publication year, she called Carol Danvers Captain Marvel. So when they announced the Captain Marvel movie, very few people actually knew about the history of Captain Marvel, that it was mainly black women fans that talked about the inherent misogynoir and bringing Carol Danvers as the first Captain Marvel in the MCU instead of Monica. So with that in mind, I want to talk about the plot of Captain Marvel. So the movie starts out with Carol being called Verse on the Kree planet Hala. She's basically an amnesiac that has no memory of her life before 6 years ago. It isn't until she goes on a mission with her team and gets ambushed by the Skrulls that she realizes that she had a life worth knowing on Earth. She ends up crash landing in a blockbuster on Earth and then tracking down some of the Skrulls that ambushed her and kidnapped her. That's when we get younger Fury and younger Phil Coulson. So I'm going to pause here and so I'm going to pause here and just say that the next part is very controversial, and I still get a lot of pushback from white fans on Tumblr for this. And so when Carol Danvers finds out that Verse finds out that she used to be Carol Danvers, she finds out she had this whole other life with a best friend called Maria Rambeau. Well, Maria Rambeau has moved on from being a pilot for the Air Force and is living in Louisiana with her young daughter, Monica Rambeau. So, this is very much extra canonical, but you had a lot of people championing the Captain Marvel movie as, inherently sapphic because Maria and Carol were obviously co-parenting this young baby girl before she became an amnesiac and left Earth, and they just seemed very close. And it does, I think, count as queer baiting because it was never canonized. Their relationship as sapphic women was never canonized in the series, in the franchise, in the MCU franchise. And here's the bit that is also another bit that is inherently misogynistic. Because they made Maria and Carol best friends and co-parenting Monica, there's the MCU fandom that considers Monica to be a daughter or a niece type of relationship with Carol. And they really leaned into it really hard in the Marvels, which I have to say is the only bit that I hated in the Marvels. But it is what it is. We got stuck with it, and not enough people know that Monica was her own person in the comics. She was not looking up to any white woman. She was just Captain Marvel. And she even was in the Avengers, or led the Avengers, I think, something like that. And so that's the main problem I had with Captain Marvel. Was the inherent misogynoir. Well, it's not the main problem. The other huge problem, glaring problem in it, was the fact that the MCU got help from the U.S. military complex because they showed Carol Danvers and Maria Rambeau as Air Force pilots. So they got money. I think they got money, and I think they got to use like the planes, the fighters, and everything for the movie. And there's like a history of military propaganda in Hollywood and stuff. And this is really a prime example of that, because we see in the flashbacks that Carol Danvers was a hotshot test pilot, and so was Maria Rambeau, and like they were back in the 80s, you know, like just being badasses and being test pilots and stuff. And it's really frustrating because we could have had, like, it doesn't, so makes, it's kind of confusing for how it happened with Ms. Marvel when Ms. Marvel comes along, because Ms. Marvel, and I've done a whole series over here, I'm going to put the playlist over here, I've done a whole series on the each episode by episode recaps, reviews of Ms. Marvel, but like, it kind of doesn't make sense in hindsight that Kamala Khan calls herself Ms. Marvel. You would think that she had gotten it from, you know, like it would have made more sense if they'd had it like in the comic books, where Carol Danvers referred to herself as Ms. Marvel first, and then that's what Kamala Khan took over as, you know. I mean, it's kind of not talked about too much, but it is kind of like a plot hole, and it's like, where does Captain Marvel come from? It comes from the retcon in the 2000 teens that they did for the comic books. So I like, if you leave all that misogynoir aside, it is an enjoyable film. And it did get a lot of backlash because it centered a white woman and Fury, and it's like, there are no good white male characters in the Captain Marvel movie. Like, Jude Law plays, oh god, I can't remember what his character is, but he's one of the Kree, and he's not a good guy. Basically, he was complicit in Carol Danvers, like, gaslighting and like holding her hostage on Hala, basically. And so, like, there was a lot of pushback, and there was a lot of misogyny, and it was a very muddled conversation. And I really wish they had just stuck to the comic book version of events and called her Ms. Marvel first, and then given Monica her own movie, because then it messes things up for the Marvels, which I will get back to in another. I will expand on that further in another video, but this is already going to be 10 minutes long, so I'm just going to cut it off here. Thanks for watching. Please follow me on Bluesky as Elisa Dreaming, on Instagram as Elisa Dreaming, and Tumblr as Elisa Dreaming, and yeah, I'm everywhere. So we'll leave all those links in the description. Thanks for watching. Bye.